Welcome back to another episode of One Voice Mini Stories. I'm your host, Kevin Bradford. The room wasn't dramatic. It was plain, square, uncomfortable on purpose. A table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs that didn't match, a clock that ticked louder than it needed to. Ellis sat in a chair closer to the door, not because he planned to leave, but because he didn't trust the room enough to sit deep inside it. No one else was there. No detective, no clipboard, no voice asking questions. But the room didn't need a person. The room was the interrogation. The fluorescent light hummed steady overhead but unforgiving. It didn't flicker, it didn't soften, it just exposed everything. Ellis kept his hands on the table, fingers interlocked, knuckles pale. He wasn't nervous, he was cornered by his own history, not by the walls. A speaker in the ceiling clicked on. No greeting, no introduction. Just a single question. When did you realize you weren't fooling anyone? Ellis didn't answer. He blinked once, slow, like he was trying to buy himself time he didn't have. The speaker clicked again. You walk around like no one couldn't see it. They saw it. He shifted in the chair. Not much, just enough to show the question landed. The room stayed silent for a full 10 seconds, long enough for the truth to get uncomfortable. Another question. Why did you ignore the warning? Not the phone call, not the argument, not the moment he walked out. The warning, the shift in the air he pretended wasn't happening. He exhaled through his nose, still didn't speak. The speaker didn't care. You had the information, you had the signs. You had the chance, you chose not to respond. He looked at the table, not down, forward, like he was studying the evidence he didn't want to claim. The clock ticked again, loud, sharp, precise. The speaker continued. You keep telling yourself you didn't know better. You did. Ellis leaned back in the chair, jaw tight. He wasn't angry, he was exposed. The room wasn't emotional, it was trying to break him. It was documenting him. Let's be clear, the room said. You didn't lose anything by accident. You lost it because you refused to face yourself. He closed his eyes for half a second, not long enough to look weak, just long enough to acknowledge the hit. The speaker clicked off, silence, then a new sound. A print in the corner warming up. A single sheet slid out, face down. Ellis didn't move, he didn't reach for it. The speaker clicked on. That's the moment everything shifted. Read it. He stood, walked to the printer, picked up the page. It wasn't a report, it wasn't a transcript, it wasn't a list of mistakes. It was a timestamp, a date, a time, a location. The exact moment he ignored the message that changed everything. He stared at it, not confused, not shocked, just confronted. The speaker delivered a final line. That's when everyone else saw it. You're just catching up. Ellis folded the paper once, clean, straight, precise. He placed it in his pocket, walked to the door, didn't look back. The interrogation wasn't over, it was paused. He stepped into the hallway. The door clicked behind him, but the sound didn't feel like closure. It felt like a file being stamped. Case still open, subject still under review. The hallway was narrow and intentionally plain, the kind of space that make a person confront themselves without distractions. No posters, no windows, just a strip of lights overhead that buzzed like they was tired of waiting on him. Ellis didn't rush, he didn't slow down either. He walked like someone who knew the building wasn't done with him. Halfway down the hall, another speaker cracked on. Not loud, not dramatic, just enough to remind him he wasn't finished yet. You think walking out of the room means you passed it? He stopped, not because he wanted to, because the hallway demanded it. You're not past anything. You're just catching up to what everyone else already knew. He turned around, didn't look for a camera, didn't ask who was talking. He stood there, jaw tight, breathing steady, waiting for the next hit. The voice continued. You walk through life like consequences were optional. They weren't. Ellis swallowed once, a small movement, but the hallway caught it like it was evidence. He kept walking. At the end of the hallway was a small metal door with a narrow glass panel. Behind it, another room, not an exit, another stage of process. He pushed the door open. Inside it was a long table with a single object placed dead center, a folder. Not thick, not thin, just enough weight to matter. He sat down across him, didn't touch it. The overhead light clicked on, brighter than the last room, sharper, like it was designed to expose anything he was trying to hide. The speaker came alive again, opened it. He didn't move. The voice didn't repeat itself. It didn't need to. Inside wasn't paperwork, no reports, no statement. Just photos, not dramatic ones, not incriminating ones. Simple ones, plain ones, moment he didn't think anyone noticed. Him walking away mid-conversations, him ignoring a call, him shutting down when someone needed him present, him choosing silence when he owned clarity, him pretending he didn't hear what he heard. Every picture was a version of him he didn't want to claim. The voice spoke again. This is what they saw. This is what you refused to see. He didn't look away, didn't flinch, didn't defend himself. He just stared at the evidence, the kind that doesn't need caption. The speaker clicked off, silence again. But this silence wasn't the same as before. It wasn't accusing him. It was waiting on him. Ellis closed the folder, not fast, not slow, just finally. He stood up. The hallway outside him was still empty, still humming, still watching. He walked toward the far end, the part of the building he hadn't seen yet. The part that wasn't about what he did. The part that was about what he would do next. As he reached the final door, the speaker delivered one last line. Now that you finally see it, the real work starts. Ellis didn't hesitate. He didn't push the door. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, that exact step, thank you for listening to One Voice Many Stories.